Hello there, it's Tuesday tutorial and today I'm painting a portrait of a great blue heron. I'll take you step by step. Let's get started. Today I'm using the Liquitex beginner set, but any heavy body acrylic will work. All the supplies and their links are listed in the description area below. In step 1, I underpaint my canvas. It's sometimes called grounding. This helps me gauge my values, how dark and light my colors are, and gives an overall tone to show through in the final piece. For step 3, I paint the background using a 3/4 inch flat brush and loading it with a mixture of phthalo green, yellow, and a little crimson. That just makes it not so bright. I cover the entire background and I use the edge of the brush to get close to the illustration. I'm going to add a little more phthalo green and burnt sienna for my darks in my background. At this point, I've already blocked in almost the entire background, and now I'm going to go over and layer. For some lighter values, I'm mixing a little yellow and a little tiny bit of white, mixing it wet on wet with the background colors. It gives a real beautiful effect. I don't mix it in completely. I like the brush strokes. It's fun to see what happens when you mix wet on wet in kind of a crisscross motion with the brush. After my background is painted completely with a brush, I take a palette knife and add another layer of paint over the top to add a textural effect. Now that the background is dry, I take my brush with very little paint and I scumble around just to soften some edges. I like the difference between the textural effects and then the softened edges. It's just a look I like. You can skip this part if you'd like. In step 4, I usually start with the darks, and I very rarely start with light colors, so this is unusual for me. But I've blocked in with the lighter color first because there's not very many dark areas to this bird, and because the background encroached on my illustration, I wanted to establish those edges first before I painted the dark part. So this is rare, but it was for a reason. I'm referring to my reference photo as well as the tracing on the canvas to show me where the colors need to go. When you use the filbert brush on the edge, you can get lines, and then if you use it on its flat side, you can fill in. So having a filbert is a good brush for your art bin. It's very versatile. Now I'm going to grab those dark colors and put those in. That's usually my step 4, but like I told you before, I decided to establish where my edges were first. Keep referring to your reference photos for everywhere you see dark. Step 5 is what I call the bridge colors. This is where you take your darkest color, mix a little white with it, and it gives you a mid value. So it's not your lightest, not your darkest, it's the mid value. So I call it the bridge colors because it bridges the dark colors to the light colors. This gives you a 3D effect. I'm gauging my values based on the reference photo, and I'm using my brush in the direction that the feathers grow. The middle part of the painting never looks very good, so try not to look at it too much. Just keep on working the colors, looking at the reference, and following it like a diagram for where to put the colors, and everything will turn out just fine. There's a lot of layering in acrylic painting, so you'll see me going over and over areas with mediums and then lights. This just gives you more depth. I use the same 7-step process every time I paint a painting. It's just my process as an artist. There's a lot of different ways to do acrylic painting. Every artist has their way. But what I like to do is teach you this 7-step, and then you can tweak it and make it your own as you go along. For long strokes, I use my whole entire arm rather than just my wrist. I decided to revisit some of the darker values to make sure that it's close to the reference photo. So having put in a lot of my midtones, I realized that my darker values weren't dark enough. So I'm going over with a little bit more darks and a little more crimson mixed in. Here I'm at the last step, step 7. This is where I highlight and add more detail. If you look closely, there's a lot going on this beak. So to get these colors, just refer to your photo and mix accordingly. I've mixed a warmer lavender by putting a little more crimson in it. To create the illusion of three-dimensional form, I need the three values, dark, mediums, and lights. Here I added the shine on the eye, and when I looked at it, it looked a little cartoony. So I went ahead and grabbed a moist towel that was close by and wiped it off and redid it. I just wanted it to look more realistic rather than cartoonish. Here I made an orangey glaze just to give it more of a translucent effect on my painting. If you do use a lot of water with your paint, you'll want to make certain that you cover it with a coating to protect the surface afterwards, because having used a lot of water, you'll break down the structure of the paint and it won't be as durable. Depending on how much detail and refinement that you want in your paintings, this stage can take a very long time. The very last stroke is this long feather on the back of the blue heron's head. Now that I've completed the painting, I'm ready to sign. When you've completed your painting, apply a clear protectant that's non-yellowing. I like Valspar. I use it for walls and paintings. I put a nice even coat on it, and I like to use a brush that's never been used for anything else. Wash it thoroughly afterwards. This is like glue, so you want to keep it in water and keep it moist, and do not let your brush dry even for a couple minutes with this on it. looks milky on the surface right now, but when it dries, it'll dry completely clear, and after about 4 hours, you can add another coat. I think 2 coats is sufficient to keep off smudges and to be able to wash dust off your painting later. Once it's completely dry, you're ready to frame. A 9x12 wrapped canvas fits perfectly in 11x14 shadowbox frame. Once you have the backing out, the canvases are so lightweight that you can use your hot glue gun and immediately after placing the glue on your canvas, flip it over and just press it down onto the fabric backing of the frame. It's just that simple. Thanks for joining me in this Tuesday tutorial. Let me know in the comments below how you did. And feel free to share your painting on my Facebook page, Creatively Bee. There's a link in the description area below. Also, if you like this video, give it a like and push the bell to be notified every time I upload.